Hello everybody, your boy is back. I know I was a week late on content and things like that, but do not stress, I am back. And well, today's video is, well, let's just say it's a bit different to the usual video. Now you see, I watched a video by a YouTuber by the name of Easy Peasy, that is EZPZ, Easy Peasy. And he made two videos recently. He tends to review a lot of animation, but he does it in a very edgy way. He does other things as well, and he's made videos on the decline and fall of Maddox, which is one of his big hits. I think that was the one that introduced me to him. Now, he did two videos, and these videos were a review of the series Star vs. Evil, whatever it's called. It's one of the new Cartoon Network CalArt style animations. No, I think it's Disney actually. It's Disney. He said there's either Disney or Cartoon Network, but at this point, animation between those two studios is kind of becoming a little bit samey. The line is blurring, and then he just reviews it, and it has the shortcomings of a lot of other CalArt style shows like Adventure Time and things like that. But then afterwards, he got contacted by a former animator, or at the very least an animator who used to work for Cartoon Network, and basically this person said that they were blacklisted in the industry, or at the very least in the areas of the industry where the CalArt people and the CalArt style is prevalent, and it raised some interesting points. Animation industry in the West, or at the very least in America, because all they talked about was America. And as we know, America is not necessarily Western animation. I mean, there's British animation, there's French animation, German animation, Canadian animation, which has a lot of influence from Japan as well, you know, Totally Spies, things like that. There's other different types of animation, but it seems, in particular, American animation, which is the dominant market, it's the dominant force in animation in the West, it has some troubles, it has some issues. And amongst that is incestuousness, which is not literal incestuousness, it's metaphorical incestuousness. Essentially, a big cabal of social justice warriors have basically embedded themselves within mainly Cartoon Network and Disney PA, is it that they call the children's show now? I don't know. I remember it was just a Disney Channel and Disney Kids, or Nicktoons, no, not Nicktoons, Disney Toons, whatever they used to call it. I'm old, guys, come on. Now, these people have infested it, and it started with, funnily enough, Adventure Time's creator Pendleton Ward. Now, they probably were already SJWs, but none quite like him, because what the video basically said, and bear in mind, this is all alleged. A lot of this is alleged, and you must take it with a grain of salt, as, you know, with these things, it's one person's view over another, but it's very believable. I will obviously link the video in the description. And basically, Pendleton Ward started this culture of, rather than hiring through merit, he would hire his friends from university, regardless if they could actually run a show, be a good storyboard artist, be a good writer. And it really just, you know, one, not only does it make you question Adventure Time and how good it actually was, but also Cartoon Network and Western animation in general. Like, is this how they do things now? Is it really just a place where you basically have to know the right people and fuck the right people in order to get any kind of success, rather than be hired based on your skill? And he also started the practice of hiring from the internet and stealing from the internet. Yes, a lot of ideas that he took were not from his own staff or even from his own head, but from Tumblr. And a lot of the writers and a lot of the artists that he plundered from different places were all from Tumblr. And, you know, regardless of whether or not they were talented or not, he would hire them, mostly if they were popular. And that has since spread, because a lot of people who are now infamous in Western animation got their start through him, or through another person, the guy who created Galaxy Falls. And basically that guy's a sex pest, but a legal sex pest, a consensual sex pest, but he clearly doesn't have any idea of a personal and professional boundary, you know? He's basically a slag. That's what he is. But anyway, this culture has since fermented, and now pretty much the whole of Cartoon Network, the whole of Disney, at least in these cartoon parts of these companies, are now just run by a cabal. It literally is a small cabal of people who don't know what they're doing, who have no idea how to make decent animation, decent storylines, and the only way you can ever get into this cabal is have the right politics, and I've already said what those politics were: far left social justice. You have to be as oppressed as can be. It's the progressive stack in force. So the more gay you are, the less white you are, the more of a woman you are, things like that. Yeah, you will definitely get in there better than, say, if you were a cis white male. And not only that, it seems to me that it's a powder keg just waiting to explode, because towards the end of the video, easy peasy, he doesn't ever show this person that he interviewed, because it was an interview, but he was kind of basically giving us the rundown of this interview. It was a 3-hour interview, and he wants to protect their identity. And he also talked about a few other people, a few other sources. Basically, it's a powder keg waiting to explode, as I said, because there's a hashtag #MeToo list running around. People who feel they've been wronged or have been sexually abused by, it's pretty much men, is on this list. I've circulated this list, they've made this list as a potential thing to, you know, out these rapists and sexual predators. And another thing is this, that, well, the problem is, even though we know that these types of people, you know, these male feminists, these soy boys, are usually guilty of this stuff, the source said that actually most of them have done nothing wrong, and really it's already being used to target innocent men because of the incestuous nature of this business that they now have. If you slight anybody, if you do anything wrong to them, they will come after you. They will blacklist you, do things. I mean, there was one artist on Steven Universe who angered, I think it was Rebecca Sugar, wasn't it? Remember, allegedly. So much so that he got fired temporarily, but nobody really knew why he got fired. If this is how much it takes for you to get fired in these places, imagine what it must take for them to lie about you in such a way. And I have a feeling that either way, there's going to be an explosion, and there's going to be an explosion from the SJWs as they eat themselves and go after each other, as is the case with hashtag #MeToo in the film industry, and also it's kind of touched on the video game industry to some extent. Or there's going to be basically a Gamergate style uprising where you have, or even Comicsgate would be a better example, where you have renegade animators and writers and studios and fans basically rising up and saying enough is enough. We don't want politics being shoved down our throats in our cartoons. We just want fun. And this is the problem. These writers and these animators, these showrunners, they like to make out like they're struggling against these studios to get all these things that they want in these progressive things, like, oh, gay kisses and storylines, things like that. Really, they don't have a problem with them having progressive elements in their shows. The problem is they're dealing with kids, and sexual stuff like that really shouldn't be given to kids, regardless if it's gay or straight. I think that's the main issue here. You know, they're dealing with young kids, not teenagers, not adults. Although, let's be fair, these people are not actually writing for kids. They're not actually making shows for kids. They're making shows for infantilized adults. Basically what they're doing is they're shoving in this propaganda, but secretively in a way, like mainly in the finales, and you'll see it's basically just fan service, or rather, you know, SJW fan service, and they're trying to sneak in as much as they can, and occasionally they will butt heads with the studio, but the studio will usually come out on top. And I remember Easy Peter saying that Rebecca Sugar likes to claim that she's strong and she always has her way over the Cartoon Network execs, and really she doesn't have that much power at all. These people love to project, they love to exaggerate how powerful they actually are, even though as a group they are, as individuals they're not. But that's where potentially the list comes into, because maybe they're finally getting ready to get rid of these execs who are the old guard from the 90s and the early 2000s, and in order to truly become propaganda vessels for their ideology, they need to get rid of these execs. And maybe, just maybe, a few of those men are on those lists, because I notice a distinct lack of, you know, female predators being put on there, mainly because, you know, they're probably, some of them are probably the ones writing that list, so they can deflect away from them. And another thing is, already cracks are beginning to appear, like already some people have been outed, like some of the voice actors, and you can see that eventually something's going to happen. And Easy Peasy was already saving a lot of information for when it becomes relevant. Some of them, oh yeah, I'm not even going to spoil it, but some of it's really sad. I honestly feel a Comicsgate thing is coming, or at the very least a hashtag #MeToo thing is coming, where they do try to go for a power grab. It's going to happen. And it's going to be, well, you know what's going to happen. It's the same thing that happened to Gamergate, the same thing happened to Comicsgate. I, for one, am fascinated to see what actually will happen, because this is destroying Western animation. The so-called golden age of animation in the West was never really a golden age, if you actually look into the inner workings. When you actually sit down and actually watch the shows. Because I remember, like, I used to be into Adventure Time. I actually did. I used to really enjoy it. But you know why I only enjoyed it? And I've realised this. It's because I watched individual episodes. And I didn't realise until I started watching an actual season. I didn't even finish the season, by the way. I only noticed then the problems. I just assumed that season was bad. No. These problems, pacing, tonal issues, a weird plot, all of this were things that plagued every season. And in fact, the only good shows are Amazing Willy Gumball and Regular Show. In fact, as far as I know, none of those creators have been implicated in anything, which just goes to show in their particular studios and their particular areas of Cartoon Network, they actually make good quality stuff and don't get involved in problems. Now, do bear in mind, as I said before, the Western animation world is actually quite big, and even in America, it's quite big. It's not just Adult Swim, it's not just Cartoon Network, it's not just Disney. There are other studios where it is very much professional, and these are only studios hired by Cartoon Network, at least a minority of them. The rest are all professional, they have boundaries, they are able to give people clear and concise instructions, and they don't tolerate the bullshit that people like Rebecca Sugar and the guy who did Galaxy Falls would do. Because apparently some of them have been doing some pretty shit stuff, so they've been sleeping at work and been getting in trouble for it, but they get away with it. Apart from creating crap content, they've been causing a lot of internal strife and causing fights, usually of a political nature, because remember, these people are not really competing to make the best material, but competing to be the best social justice warriors, essentially. Also, they're competing for men and the women. Essentially, they're competing for partners, and I know that the guy who did Galaxy Falls would get very jealous and very possessive and very just confrontational with men who wanted to get with girls that he wanted to get with, because, you know, he's the boss. He gets all the women. And because of all this sexual activity that's going on, apparently in his studio alone, there was an STI that you could basically chart the process of it from one person to another. Now, I don't know who started it, but because people are clearly not performing their responsibilities when it comes to that particular action, it's a very dangerous workplace to work in, not just ideologically, but for your own health. I mean, why would you want to work in such a place? It really just shows how degenerate, for lack of a better word, these people can be. This is like the complete opposite of a very socially conservative society, where they go the complete extreme position, where everybody has to be chaste. This is a place where everybody has to be perverted, essentially. Even though they're not necessarily all predators and perverts, they're just out of control, it seems. So what do I actually think about this powder keg? Well, honestly, I feel like the hashtag MeToo thing will probably happen first. I think that's going to become public. And I think as a response to this, there might be a Comicsgate moment. Or maybe it will be the hashtag MeToo moment in response to the Comicsgate thing. But I personally think that it's going to be the SJWs who eat each other first. And then that's going to create even more problems and foment more anger amongst fans and rebel content creators, for lack of a better term. And they will fight back. And then, of course, the likes of Rebecca Sugar and those other people will turn to their comrades in the media and other places, and they will demonize these people. And we'll see, probably on YouTube, probably on other sites, the growth of a more, I don't know, alternative cartoon community where they're actually going to just go, well, fuck the studio system, we'll do it on the outside. I mean, we already see that anyway on YouTube, but I think where actual good kids animation will be created on the internet eventually, I think, just to get away from the studio system. So who knows, if all these people come to YouTube, we might see the end of the Elsa Gate bloody YouTube kids shit that kids are being forced to watch, or at the very least accidentally watch. Hey, those are just my thoughts, my rambly, incoherent thoughts, but hey, you know, we'll see what happens in the future, guys. And sorry I'm late with this video. I tried. I'm sorry, guys, I really tried, but oh well. Until next time, it's been your boy, and I'll see you later.